Greetings out there in YouTube land. This is Morris, man. As always, I thank you guys for coming to my channel. I'm going to do something special, I guess, because from time to time I talk about music related things and things that are non-music related. And this is kind of a combination of both, non-related to music and music. Uh, I was sitting around with my drummer yesterday. And one thing about my band is we're not just musicians that play together. We're actually pretty good friends. You know, there are days that we put down the instruments and just talk, amongst each other. And we were talking about historical moments. And we got on the subject of a moment in time in history that when a special or certain event evolved, or should I say, happened, better with lack of words, that it brought tears to you as far as the death of certain people, celebrities. And I said I can think of three people, or on one hand, three people that their death really impacted me. It was the late Harold Washington, used to be the mayor of Chicago in the late 70s, up until I think maybe the early 80s. Stevie Ray Vaughan and John Lennon. And I'm going to tell you why each one of those particular deaths really affected me. That well, I won't say literally, it moved me to tears because it was just such of a loss to me. I felt, to me personally. And the first one is Harold Washington. Let's see if I can put this into words. Every blue moon, an individual surface that you say, wow, I feel good about this guy. He's going to make some monumental changes for everybody. Because it wasn't about black people voting for this black guy versus not voting for this white guy or this white woman. It was about voting for the right person. And I think the black community back in that era felt that Harold Washington was the right person for the job. It had nothing to do with his color or anything of that nature. It just, I think people in Chicago felt that we needed a fresh approach to policing, a fresh approach to politics, because in the late 70s, I remember, well, I'm not going to really get into that, but I'm just going to say this. It was not a good thing being a young black man driving around South Side Chicago in the late 70s. Just leave it at that. But one thing that really appealed to me about Harold Washington was I felt he was an honest guy, as far as I just wanted to do the right thing for everybody. This ain't about looking out just for the blacks or looking out just for the whites or looking out just for the Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, everybody. We all live here together. We all should work together. And I never forget the day that he passed away. I was in my late teens. I was upstairs sleeping because I was working late, living at home, working late at this grocery store chain. And my mother woke me up. And I knew that was a bad thing because my mother rarely ever woke me up out of my sleep when I just went to bed 3 hours ago, unless it's an emergency. I was like, oh, what's going on here? She called me downstairs. She said, watch the TV. We sitting there and we just crying together. And it was like, wow. It was just, it's like we lost our hope. This was the guy that kind of organized and got black people to work together, because that was like the biggest black turnout in politics in the history of Chicago, because we all wanted to work together and try to get things to go better. We felt good about ourselves, as far as we stopped sitting around complaining and actually put a plan in action and start voting for people. My mother voted for Harold Washington. She hadn't voted in decades, and she, got herself together, went down into the poll and voted. I was like, whoa, just kind of fired up everybody. And when he passed away, it was just devastating. And I remember the rumors back then, because I was a young guy, and they said that he was actually poisoned and they killed him. I don't know how true that is, but that kind of started to surface after he passed away. And I think if Harold Washington was younger and at the age that I am now, that he would probably run for president and probably would have had a good chance of winning. Very down to earth guy, very intelligent guy, very honest guy. So that was a really sad day for me. And then when John Lennon passed away, and what's interesting about the John Lennon death and the Harold Washington, I was woken out of my sleep for both of them. My brother called me downstairs. This, of course, I think a couple of years later or before, I forgot. But we watching the TV again. It's like, what's going on here? And what's really so sad about John Lennon's passing is that he was murdered. He was murdered. It's like, man, who would want to kill this guy? not only he was a phenomenal musician, but he was just a great visionary. You know, he talked about things that he would like to have seen in his lifetime, as far as we just all putting down the guns and just try to, give peace a chance. And there's some people or groups of people, organizations, believe it or not, they don't want good things to happen. They want things to stay chaotic like they are. Because I was watching a documentary and they had opened up a FBI file on John Lennon. I'm like, for what? It's like he's not trying to harm anybody. If anything, it's just the opposite. He's trying to do some good. So I found that to be interesting. But you end up showing up on the radar when you are appealing to a great mass of people for good things and sometimes, unfortunately, for bad things. And I just can't understand why, this particular person, was it John Hinckley, that for some reason had this thing that he wanted to kill John Lennon. And then what's really sad, and to make it even really bad, was the fact that a couple of hours prior to him shooting Lennon, he had met Lennon and Lennon signed an autograph. Then he shows back up later with a gun, and kills John Lennon. It's like, wow, that was a news event heard all around the world and impacted a lot of people all around the world. And Stevie Ray Vaughan, I was actually driving down the street when I heard it, and I pulled over. I was like, whoa. Because what really made me sad about his death was he went through what some musicians go through, the drugs, the alcohol, and almost lost his life on a couple of occasions due to those habits or addictions. And then just when he was getting his life together, his life was taken away. I was like, this is some bullshit. Here's a man that struggled with all this stuff, demons and monkeys on his back, and then he was able to successfully close that chapter in his life, and shortly thereafter, he dies in a plane crash. I'm like, talk about being cheated. I was like, this is unbelievable, And what, to me, not just so much about, how his death impacted me that day. Stevie Ray Vaughan, to me, and this is my personal observation and nobody else's, was one of the few people that was able to have something in his head musically and articulate it through his fingers. Because most musicians know what I'm talking about. I got stuff in my head that I can't get out because I'm just not that talented enough to get it out through my hands. But it's there. I hear it. And I think Stevie Ray Vaughan was one of the very few individuals that was able to accomplish that. Because I'm just sitting here listening to his solos. I'm like, whoa. And to me, what makes a great soloist is this. That you take these ideas and you put them in a coherent manner or form, because a great soloist is someone who can do a lot of that for a long period of time. Because I'm only good solo-wise for a couple of bars and I'm tapped out because I'm like, I've done all I can do. All I'm thinking I'm going to do at this point is just regurgitate what I just did and kind of move it and jumble it around, but it's the same thing. But when you listen to Eric Clapton's solos, you listen to Stevie Ray Vaughan solos, it's like 15 minutes of just stuff that's improv. It's not the same repeated every couple of measures. You sneak it back in there. It's like just a whole long thing of just soloing, just going. And I think he was extremely good at that, And like I said, it was like he's finally able to close that chapter in his life before he died of a drug overdose and found dead in the bathtub in a hotel room. That after he was able to accomplish closing that chapter in his life for good, he gets taken away from us. And then he was taken away from us flying out of Chicago, my hometown. I was like, oh my goodness, But I just thought I would share that with you guys. Leave in the comment box some of, the moments or events in your life that, kind of brought you to tears. It just devastated you, as far as, a celebrity passing away or a politician or just somebody that you feel had a big impact on your life indirectly. So until next time, take care. Thank you, as always.